Hello everyone and welcome to a game from the final round of this year's Akiba Rubinstein Memorial Tournament. It is Jan-Krzysztof Duda versus Vincent Keymer. Now, we already said that Vincent won the tournament in round 7, so 2 full rounds before the tournament ends, as out of the first 7 rounds, he won 5 games and drew 2, and no one can catch up to him. So he is definitely the winner of the tournament, and then he lost to Sam Shankland, and now we have this game against Jan-Krzysztof Duda, which is incredible. It's like one of those games where you have no idea why a certain player is doing something. It seems like he's randomly moving pieces, but only upon further inspection and a more detailed one, you realize that, wow, this is actually really a top-level game. So let's check it out. 2 really awesome pause-the video moments. Duda opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to e5 by Vincent, knight f3, knight to c6, and knight to c3. And Vincent goes for the 4 knights defense, or the 4 knights game, knight to f6, bishop to b5, and now bishop to d6. It's a fairly known system, many games with this exact same line, but Vincent did spend some 6 minutes deciding on bishop to d6. We have pawn to d3 and castles kingside by Vincent. We have pawn to a3 and pawn to h6, pawn to h3, and now there are some 7-8 games in the database with rook to e8, but here we have knight to d4 by Vincent, and it is now as of move 7 that we have a completely new game. You can see that Duda is playing fairly quickly, 1 hour and 23 minutes on the clock. Vincent is already down to 1 hour and 6 minutes. We have bishop to c4, as of course you do not want to give up the bishop pair that easily. Bishop c4, c6, and bishop to e3. Developing the bishop, putting pressure on the knight. We have pawn to b5, attacking the bishop, bishop to a2, and now knight captures on f3 again. Fairly long thing by Vincent. We have queen captures on f3 and now knight to h7 with the idea of playing f5 once you deal with the bishop controlling this diagonal. Maybe you're going to go king to h8, maybe you somehow play d5. All depends. We have pawn to h4. And queen to f6, offering a queen trade. Queen back to e2, of course, Duda declines, and pawn to b4. We have a captures on b4, bishop captures pinning the knight, and bishop back to b2. We have pawn to d6 and pawn to g4. Duda says that he wants to play g5 and he wants to open up an attack against Vincent's king on g8. We have bishop captures on c3, bishop captures and bishop to e6. Vincent going for trades. And now bishop to c4. A very interesting move is pawn to g5. It's actually very hard to meet this move. If you play pawn to g5, it's only queen to g6 sort of holds. It's still a bad position for black, but it can be played. And if you just accept the pawn, then queen h5, and this is just terrible. Okay, you're not getting checkmated. You can play g6, and now the queen and knight are defending. But look at this. The queen can never move from the defense of the h8 square, otherwise you get checkmated, and the knight can never move from the defense of the h7 square, or you get checkmated. So it would be a really bad position. Plus, white's plan is pretty straightforward. You're going to castle queenside, you're going to get the other rook to g1. Yeah, this is falling apart. But Duda played bishop to c4, and now queen to g6 by Vincent. We have rook to a6, putting pressure on the a6 pawn, and on the c6 pawn. And here you could just trade down. Let's say bishop captures on c4. The captures, you're gonna defend the pawn on c6, and the game continues. Nothing spectacular happening here. If you play h5, then white can no longer advance, and if you play g5, you can even just capture, and you are very happy with your position. But after rook to a6, bishop captures on g4 was played, and now feel free to pause the video and try to find the only winning idea for Jan-Krzysztof Duda while I give you a couple of seconds, and while his queen is hanging. So, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this really tricky idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to g1. That's the key move. And it seems like you're attacking the bishop, but the real problem is that the f pawn is pinned. And to give you an example, let's say you just defend the bishop. You play pawn to h5, let's say pawn to f3. Sort of winning you the piece, but you're going to capture on f3 and attack the queen, and now again rook captures on g6. This is key, that the f-pawn cannot capture the rook. And now after bishop captures on e2, you could, you could capture the bishop, but then pawn to d5 could be an issue, so you could just capture on d6, and that works perfectly fine. Now black saves the bishop, you're going to capture on c6, and your position is completely winning here. You're going to win the e5 pawn as well, and then the 3 central pawns are going to be unstoppable. Even if you try to defend, let's say, rook f to e8, it just doesn't work. Rook c7, you go after the f7 pawn, and now there's just no way to defend. If bishop to e6, you happily trade, captures, 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 you capture on e5. Again, all of these pawns are marching forward. The g7 pawn cannot be defended. This is resigns. So after rook to g1, bishop captures on e2 right away was played. Rook captures on g6, and now pawn to d5. And now comes the key idea that Duda had to see when he played rook to g1. And no doubt you guys, when you decided to play rook to g1, saw this move. Have at it while I give you a couple of seconds if you need it. Even though, you guys are so strong, you probably don't. Of course, the move is rook captures. I'm only kidding, of course. It's e captures on d5. That is the move. You sacrifice the rook, or rather the exchange. And there is nothing more to be done here. If you capture, then you've really achieved nothing by giving up a pawn. The pin persists. And if f captures on g6, which is the top move, and it was played in the game by Vincent, then comes d captures on c6. With check, and only after king h8, you capture on e2. But there's the passed c pawn, and the bishop pair will do more than a fine job of escorting the pawn to becoming a queen. We have pawn to g5, captures, captures, and now a nice pawn to c7. We have rook f to e8, rook to c6, putting the rook behind the passed pawn, rook 8 to c8 blocking, but now just bishop to a6. And Vincent will gladly give up the rook for the bishop, but that will not end his suffering. We have knight to f7, bishop captures on c8, we have rook captures on c8, and now pawn to d4. Just going after the remaining weakness. E captures on d4, bishop captures, and now king to g8. The trick is, of course, well, if you try something like knight to g5, then rook captures on h6, and there's just nothing you can do, like rook a6, captures, and you resign. You either allow rook captures on g7, or you trade, and then the 2 connected extra passed pawns will easily be winning for white. So after bishop captures on d4, king to g8 was played on pinning, pawn to b4. We have king to f8, now comes bishop to c5 with check. If you go king to e8, then it's a fairly simple win. Rook e6 check, king d7, and rook e7 check will pick up the knight on f7. So Vincent has to go back, king to g8, and now bishop captures on a7, freeing up the path for the passed b pawn to be pushed forward. We have knight to e5 attacking the rook, rook c3, and knight to g6. We have pawn to b5, knight to f4 with check, king f1, and now knight to d5 attacking the rook. But Duda does not flinch. He finishes the game in great style, plays pawn to b6, and he was in this position on move 38 that Vincent Keymer resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. You either give up the knight, or you capture the rook and then b7, of course completely winning. Rook captures, you bring a queen into the game, you capture the rook as well, you're up a full queen, and easy victory. It definitely could have been the performance of a lifetime for Vincent, but it seems that I've jinxed him. I started covering the event too quickly after Vincent started winning, and then, I mean, he had an amazing, out of the first 7 rounds, he had 5 wins and 2 draws. Then Sam Shankland came to ruin his party, and now he wins he loses 2 in a row. Second one to Jan-Krzysztof Duda, but yeah, okay, it's fitting for him to lose to a Polish player, as it is the Akiba Rubinstein Memorial Tournament. But yeah, even with losing 2 final games in this tournament, it is Vincent Keymer who wins. I think 1 game is still being played. Let me just check real quickly. No, it actually ended. Vladimir Fedosev and Radoslav Wojtaszek ended their game in a draw. So the final standings is, yeah, Vincent Keymer wins a full point ahead of everyone else, even with losing 2 final games. With 5 points in shared second, David Navara, Sam Shankland, Vladimir Fedosev, and Jan-Krzysztof Duda. With 4.5, Radoslav Wojtaszek, Alexei Sarana. With 4, Pentala Harikrishna. 3.5, Andrei Volokitin, and Bartel Mateusz with 2.5 in last place. So yeah, incredible event by Vincent, and you've seen what it took by Sam Shankland, and you've seen what a wizardry was needed to take down Vincent in the final round by Jan-Krzysztof Duda. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Brilliant stuff by Duda, as well, we kind of expect that from Duda, so good for him. I would like to thank Robert Stadelman, GuernseyChessFestival.org.gg, MyChessSets.com, Jacob Sorvala, and Oris the Great Dane, who loves chess, for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent start of your week.